Once we once we have these alternative solutions to appending and creating and formatting strings, really we need to go back to where did this all start? Where was it that this was not performing? Perhaps yes. Presumably this was being used. In our initial problem was to take a look at durations. Right, durations had all these formats of concatenating some strings to build up duration either in hours, minutes, and seconds, and presumably we would have multiple records that we're converting, and we're growing. So ideally we would use these algorithms, our solutions, in a real live environment, right? To actually solve some particular problem. So if we go back and use our duration formatting method, right, and instead of using the out-of-the-box concatenation of dot format and using the percentages and whatnot, yes, instead of using that, we use our version. Right, we would like to be able to compare how good did we do, how well did we do. Did when you use this in a live real setting, right? Does the performance actually shine? Does it show? Also, we're going to compare it against two Java implementations that are actually alternatives to using the string, right? Obviously, Java solved this issue already, right? That if you're going to find yourself actually concatenating, especially in a tight loop, don't use string concatenation. Don't use the plus operator. Instead, Java gives you strings versions, classes that especially are designed, especially for this particular case, right? That that apply many of the strategies that we've built ourselves, right? And these other implementations called string builder and string buffer, right? They all implement strategies that allow you to append characters, append integers, append other strings, right? Without throwing away, right, the string representation underneath, which is basically what we did. Right? So we're going to compare against these two implementations out of the box that the Java util library provides us. We'll compare it with our implementation and see how well we did. Okay? So after doing some benchmarking, we see that if duration would have used exact array or string, it's what we expect, right? It performs terribly. The time that it takes to convert a whole bunch of durations into hours, minutes, and seconds, it's very, very expensive using those two very inefficient strategies. Instead, if we use the doubling and our linear, we do much better, right? Although we know that if we for the linear array strategy, if we use a much bigger array, we know that kind of flat line there that looks like a line actually is very deceiving, right? That it's actually quadratic as well, right? So it might make sense to try out bigger strings and see to illustrate that case. But we know that the doubling array, if we graph that and we zoom in, we'll notice that it's tracking very well linearly, right? That the time grows linearly with the size of the string, and it's actually not too bad compared to Java's out-of-the-box implementation of their own much more efficient string builders and string buffers, right? That take into advantage better implementations of concatenating strings, right? That we're right in the ballpark of performing, almost as good, or in the same ballpark on what the out-of-the-box util implementation of string builder and string buffer. So we should be proud of ourselves that we're in that area. So yes, under real world implementation of using our algorithm, we see that we do perform better. That we were able to bring down the that our benchmarks of benchmarking our individual algorithms, predicted that we were going to do well also in a real environment of using it for a particular implementation. Now, whether this actually works out in the real world and industry, that's another question.